Part 2 of 7.1.7.2. This is mainly section 7.2. So we're taking care of our last two goals. Our first goal that we're going to do for this video is to be able to use the converse of the Pythagorean theorem to prove a triangle is right, and to also use what I call the inequalities of the converse of the Pythagorean to also classify whether it is acute or obtuse. So, just to review, in part 1, we talked about if you're given a right triangle, using Pythagorean theorem to find the missing side. Now we're going to work backwards, and that's what it means for something to be converse. So, this theorem is saying, if it's a right triangle, then Pythagorean theorem. Now we're going to say, if Pythagorean theorem is satisfied, it is a right triangle. So let's go ahead and discuss that. So this time we don't know where our right angle is, so we don't know what our hypotenuse is. But the trick is to remember that C will always be the largest number. Always and forever. Okay? So as long as you can identify whichever one's the longest side or the biggest number, or whatever you want to call it, then you know what C is. And then we still have to satisfy C squared equals A squared plus B squared. If this happens, then you have a right triangle. So let's do an example of that. Looking at example 2 here. Okay, so if we're looking at example 2, we're still going to use C squared equals A squared plus B squared. And again, the most important thing is identifying C. So C is going to be a largest side. So we have 30 feet, 8.4 feet, and 28.8 feet. This right here will be C because it is the longest side, the largest number, the biggest one, whatever you want to say, it's going to be C. So we can say 30 squared equals, and again, just like before, whatever we plug in for A and B doesn't matter, just take the other two sides and put them in the equation. So we've got 8.4 squared plus 28.8 squared. And then use your calculator to check it. So 30 squared is 900. And then we're going to say 8.4 squared plus 28.8 squared is also 900. So if they're equal, in which this case they are, then we know it is a right triangle. If they're not equal, it's not a right triangle. Okay, so you'll have problems like that on your homework. Yes, this is specifically an example from your homework. All right, moving on. Well, if it's not a right angle, what else could it be? Well, it could be acute or it could be obtuse, and this is where the inequalities come into play. C will still be the longest side. It's just now if it's going to be acute, it's going to satisfy this equation. We're going to say C squared is less than A squared plus B squared. And if it's obtuse, we're going to say C squared is greater than A squared plus B squared. So while you're working these problems, while we're solving these, we don't know if we're going to have an equal, a less than, or a greater than symbol that goes in. So we leave it blank. So let's do an example of that, and that'll be your last example for this note video. Example 3, you'll have problems like this on your homework. So we're going to say C squared, we don't know what goes there, A squared plus B squared. But again, it is very important to identify C, and C is going to be the biggest number that you have to work with. So we have 7, 3.5, and 5.6. 7 is going to be C because it is the biggest number. So we have 7 squared, and then we have 3.5 squared plus 5.6 squared. Again, it doesn't matter which one you make A or which one you make B. So 7 squared, 49. Then we do 3.5 squared plus 5.6 squared. We get 43.61. Now, to decide which inequality goes in there, remember that the Pac-Man or the shark or whatever you want to call it is going to eat the larger number. So between 49 and 43.61, 49 is the bigger number, so it's the one that's going to get eaten. And then I'm going to look up here to see which one of these matches my answer here. Greater than, so it's obtuse. So this is an obtuse triangle. Okay? So now you should be able to complete the entire Google form. That is assignment 2. Remember assignment 1, you should be taking notes from part 1 and part 2. Just keep them together, take a picture of them, and submit them under assignment 1, which is where you found this video. I will scan and put this in the Google Classroom for you. And if you have any questions, please message me. That's the fastest way to get a hold of me. And I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye.